those high rates of speed there with that car on this freeway. We're still trying to confirm if there are actually other wants for this driver here, but you can see this driver giving no indication that they're going to bring this pursuit to an end anytime soon. And with a car like that, it can hold a lot of gas and it can go for a long time.
It's a hybrid, so it gets really good gas mileage compared to our typical fuel-consuming vehicles. But southbound on the 14 freeway, speeds over north of 90 miles per hour now. In and out of relatively light to moderate traffic there on that stretch of the 14 freeway. Again, heading out of Lancaster and those streets that run east-west, because this portion of the 14 runs north-south through the Antelope Valley. Part of the Mojave Desert are lettered streets, Avenue K, Avenue L, Avenue M, and you'll see that on our Extreme Nav system. But as this pursuit heads south, it'll eventually connect up with the 138 Pear Blossom Highway and then wind its way up through the Soledad Pass. That's up towards the Saugus area and then into the Santa Clarita Valley.
So what we don't know is if there are other people in the vehicle other than the driver. Could potentially be something of concern. You also don't know in a situation like this, especially with the suggestion that the plates are different, that this could be a stolen vehicle, if there could be somebody else, like a kidnapping victim or a carjacking or something else in this situation as well, where there could be innocent people in that vehicle. And if that is in fact the case, that changes the strategy, Rick, in which the officers then pursue this vehicle, trying, you know, going out of their way not to try to injure any of those people.
That's right, and we've gotten some unconfirmed reports about what this initial want was, how this pursuit started, what initiated the pursuit, if it was a failure to yield, if they were tracking this suspect because of something he or she did. The bottom line is this suspect is running at a good rate of speed there down the 14, Highway 14, through the Antelope Valley, into the Palmdale area now at speeds of over 90 miles an hour at times. You could watch along with our Extreme Nav system there, and you could see as well that the traffic is relatively light. You saw that green and yellow helicopter. Whenever you see a helicopter with that color, that means it's an LA County helicopter. The black and white helicopters are LAPD helicopters, and this is the LA County Sheriff's Department that is tracking at this vehicle, as well as the California Highway Patrol. Here's the first little hiccup in terms of traffic that this suspect has had, and that he got up right behind. And that, look at that, that pickup truck, it looks like, is trying to get in front of that vehicle, perhaps, maybe, but at times these people don't even know what's coming up from behind them.
Well, yeah, you know, you could be very well distracted. You're listening to the radio, you're driving along. It is a wide open street there, a highway there. And then you see a car come up behind you. You may not even notice that there are police vehicles trailing behind there, and you get caught up in this. But CHP is on this one right here.
Real
Again,
close. Look at that.
Lots of lights and sirens. Yeah, but Christine, in terms of the flow of traffic, though, moving from the Antelope Valley into Santa Clarita, this driver could be hitting some real traffic soon, although they may be getting off the freeway right here.
Looks like an exit here. Is that Avenue S, I believe, on the Extreme Nav system there? And a few vehicles there on the off-ramp here, and he is, or she is trying to meander around traffic and really took that turn really tight. That vehicle was moving at a high rate of speed when it made that left turn. Now on Avenue S through the Palmdale area here, and really still ripping there in relation to the traffic there. You can see speeds still 70 miles an hour for a time against traffic, at least in the center medium there. That Prius being pursued, unclear of what the want is, but this suspect is doing whatever they can to evade police. And you can see that the windows are tinted, as we said, and we just don't know if there's anybody else inside that automobile.
Well, and it also looked like a short time ago when he was getting off the freeway that there was an attempt at doing a spike strip, but that the driver in the Prius avoided that spike strip. Clearly, that car seems to be moving still at a good clip at 80 miles an hour on a side street. That's really dangerous.
And through the center medium there, now in a left turn lane, to crossing guards there, making a right turn, meandering through traffic there. Wow. And again, that CHP unit was trailing tight through a red light. And you could see there's officers, and it's interesting to see that there are other deputies that were already in that area off the freeway. If they had pre-positioned there because they had some knowledge that this suspect might exit there, or just they positioned at those various off-ramps, a number of those suspects, just to, or I should say sheriff's deputies, just to make sure if they did exit the freeway.
Rick, you bring up a good question, because we think about them deploying a spike strip. And it's often when a vehicle's been going in maybe a circular kind of pattern, so they can predict where the car is going. This guy was on the freeway and got off, and they were able to try to deploy that spike strip. These speeds here, though, on surface streets, so scary.
They certainly are, and the threshold when we try to terminate these pursuits, because the best thing to do is to terminate the pursuit without anybody getting hurt. But this is a reckless suspect, a reckless driving suspect, is to bring that car to a halt. And they do it by throwing those spike strips, trying to disable the vehicle, or trying the pit maneuver, the pursuit intervention technique, spinning the car out. But at speeds like this, you just can't do it. You have trying the pit maneuver, the pursuit intervention technique, spinning the car out. But at speeds like this, you just can't do it. You have to have speeds of 35 miles an hour, thereabouts, or less to make that happen. But as you can see, 80 miles an hour, just ripping through these surface streets of Palmdale here in the Antelope Valley, off the 14 freeway now on 29th Street.
And this is so dangerous, Rick, for people in this community that are out there. This is not a good time to be out in the streets walking, because this guy could lose control at any time as well, with him driving so incredibly recklessly.
And the suspect already was. We saw that. It almost lost control there on that off-ramp from Avenue S from the 14 freeway southbound, coming out of Lancaster into Palmdale. And it looks like the vehicle could already be partially disabled. Slowing down a bit. Never, ever try to be a hero. Never try to block a vehicle. Don't come outside if you live in this neighborhood. Stay safe inside, because we just don't know what we're dealing with a very erratic suspect like this. Slow enough now, perhaps, for that pit maneuver,
potentially,
because he's really slowed down. Oh, almost got hit. That was a wreck involving the CHP officer. Now, that is an extra added want on this suspect here. You saw that coming, that opposing traffic. It was a red light. Wow.
It'd be almost good to go back and look at that to see how that officer was hit, and hoping that officer is going to be okay.
Those cars are pretty, those vehicles are pretty tough, those units, those sheriff's deputies units, but still, that was a hard impact. And when those deputies are driving and they're not expecting it, then an injury definitely can occur. But
the driver too that hit the police vehicle.
Okay, now if you don't think that the officers wanted to stop this guy before, we may see the officers escalate in terms of trying to bring this to an ending, because now this just got personal for all of these deputies. Here we go, another potential collision.
Another near miss. And you can see this could be a situation where they do try to pit him, and those two vehicles pulled over, which is exactly what you want to do. If you see or hear something, try to slowly pull over to the right. Give the officers their space so they can do their jobs. Unclear if this suspect knows this neighborhood, why he or she pulled off on Avenue S, off the 14 freeway there, or it was just a random pull-off. And again, we still don't have confirmation of what the suspect is wanted for. This could be a time where a pit maneuver could occur, even though the speeds are a bit north of 35. Again, 35 miles an hour is typically.
The problem is there's not a lot of place to
It's a cul-de-sac. It's a cul-de-sac. They're trying to pit him. There he goes.
Here comes the pit into
another car.
And he's still moving. He's still moving, and he's going to continue on.
Wow.
That was a successful pit maneuver.
Look at the door.
The driver's side, the passenger side door is open.
And the windshield wipers are going. I mean, the car had to sustain some real damage in that, but yet the driver continues to go.
2 CHP units, or one of them may have been a sheriff's deputy, involved in that attempted pit maneuver. They pitted him, and then that vehicle went into a parked car in that cul-de-sac. Debris coming off that vehicle. So you can see both doors are open.
Okay, here comes pulling into this here. Wow. A turnaround. Is he going to get out of the car?
Yeah, this is going to be a two suspects. One's got his or her hands raised.
Okay.
He's carrying something too.
Running.
And you've got to see how desperate this person is to try to get away after hitting these vehicles and an innocent person as well.
Is that?
Oh no! Lock your doors, everyone. Lock your doors if you see.
Wow! Look at this. Wonder if sheriff's deputies running.
You wonder if this is this person's home or not. I found it very interesting that there were so many deputies deployed in that neighborhood, and they had a spike strip ready at that exit, which might give you some intelligence.
However, if he does know that neighborhood, if he did know that neighborhood, would he have pulled into that cul-de-sac area? We just don't know. This is is it a large apartment complex, or is it a? It looks like there's multiple AC units there. Oh, the gun's drawn.
A shootout.
Oh, wow.
Or guns drawn. We don't know if any shots were fired or not.
And there are deputies running a chaotic scene here.
Oh, man.
And again,
so we see multiple deputies now with guns drawn. It appeared there may have been some sort of exchange there.
And it's really important as you watch this at home, everybody, because we have shown police incidents, good, bad, and otherwise, that have occurred. This is an individual that was running from deputies, running from the police. They lit them up. They told them to pull over. They didn't. They rammed a sheriff's deputy vehicle or a CHP vehicle. There was damage there, perhaps an injury. Then they got out of their vehicle and continued to run. Now, in this situation, they are giving this suspect strict commands to give themselves up. It looked like a male. I could not tell the gender of the other individual who immediately, when they got out of the passenger side, put their hands up.
So we don't know if that person is an innocent person who was being held by this driver.
Something just came from the top of that. Was that an animal?
Yeah, so you have to wonder as you look at this here about innocent people who are in this complex here, and you have to wonder if this suspect was able to get inside a unit, inside somebody's home.
And we don't know if it may be his home. We don't know if or what his connection is to this place or a family member's home, or did he just run randomly into a random person's house who's now in the middle of this, you know, very tense situation with guns drawn from sheriff's deputies.
It seemed like he was very erratic and just trying to get away. After getting out of that cul-de-sac, successfully evading the pit maneuver, hitting two officers and another one prior to from another vehicle because of an accident that occurred, and may have just pulled over to this location. Who knows? So we don't know.
So when we look in closer, there's somebody on this balcony.
Yep,
we
the
don't
second
know
floor.
Two people on this balcony.
They just
we don't know if they are the ones connected to this, if they're communicating. We see that the deputies have their guns drawn, pointed at these two individuals. Clearly some sort of conversation happening there, but we don't know, you know, what their connection is. So from what we could see, it looked like that other person who may be a suspect or may be an innocent victim, they've now taken into custody or talking to officers, doing something, but now the focus is on this person and what may be a family member.
Providing intel. They could just be some residents, because this does appear to be a two-story apartment unit. Just looking, it appears that those are individual AC units attached. The Antelope Valley, a hot portion of Southern California, even though we had the May gray here, it was sunny and 90 degrees or above there today. This now turns into perhaps a barricade situation. What deputies are going to do is they're going to try to set up a containment around this complex here, and then they may have to go door to door and search each unit. We just
Rick,
don't know.
Keep in mind that suspect was running carrying something. It looked like a bag or a backpack. You have to wonder now too if that suspect had some kind of weapon that they were carrying.
Right.
It was something important that he wasn't going to leave behind, and he was going to run with it.
Or was it? Yeah. Or I mean, just throwing out there as a possibility, could there have been a child or something else in that bag?
Initially, that's what I thought as well, that it could have been a little baby. We just don't know at this time, because we've gotten unconfirmed reports about different situations which initiated this pursuit, and we still don't know that, Alex and Christine?
Right. Yes. And so we're waiting for more information on that front. You know, there's different things that are out there, but nothing is confirmed.
The position, though, of those deputies and those officers there, you can see that they are in a protected position for their own safety there. What they are watching, it's hard to tell. Is there a stairwell that leads up to an upstairs? Or is there a ground unit that they're watching, a door? We do understand shots were fired.
Yeah, and
trying to get more information to see if that came from the law enforcement officers
like it. It looked like it.
or the suspect.
And it looks like that person on the balcony may have a shotgun as well. And this is now a standoff situation. But if you're just joining us, all of the things that we've seen in this pursuit just in the last 15 minutes or so, we saw a sheriff's deputy who was in a crash with another innocent person because the driver was driving so erratically. We don't know about the condition of that deputy or the other innocent car that was involved in that. We know that the deputies tried to pit this driver. At one point, the driver ended up getting hit into a mailbox and another car. Didn't look like anybody was in the car, but probably damaged that car. And then the driver kept going, pulled into this particular property, ran up the staircase. There was an exchange of gunfire at some point, very chaotic, and it looks like there's now either a negotiation, but I mean, this is a tense thing. And Rick, we often talk about, and Christine, we often talk about body language gives us our cues. And you can tell, Christine, from the body language here, this is a tense situation.
Very tense. They are taking cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see they have their guns drawn there, and it's amazing to watch the people there on the balcony. It looks like a man and a woman watching what's happening here. Those deputies, those officers there in a protected position for their own safety there with those guns drawn. We're going to take a look at some of this pursuit of what we saw earlier. We have seen a lot of chaotic scenes in this one, ending up at this apartment complex here in the Antelope Valley. Watch this scene here. This is East Avenue as the driver there makes that turn there, and an officer right there hit by an innocent
that was a hard
person.
T-bone.
And you have to wonder if that driver, that innocent driver, is okay, as well as that officer. But that's exactly the thing you don't want to see happen. They're very scary.
That crash again. And then there was another incident not long after that. The driver tried to go into a cul-de-sac. Let's look at that. This is a dead end, so they think here's a chance to hit the suspect. The suspect goes into
done.
Yeah, you think he's done, into another car, into a mailbox, and he just gets away. So let's take a live look at the apartment complex area. It looked like what we were just seeing was that the officers, the deputies there, were talking to the other person that was in the vehicle out where the car, where they got out of the car, and while this standoff is now underway.
And let's get back to the early information where we didn't know the exact want on this driver. There were a couple things along with assault with a deadly weapon. We saw that passenger run out of that car, and you have to wonder, was that person there willingly in that dangerous pursuit, or they'd already hit, or you saw the innocent vehicle hit the police vehicle? Or was that person being held hostage? Were they a victim as well?
Both doors we saw were open.
Right there.
So this is
looks like the person that was in that car.
And if you notice, the person does not have handcuffs on.
And look at the body language.
Which leaves you to believe that this person may have been an innocent victim in this situation, potentially some sort of kidnapping victim. Okay, now we're seeing more deputies running in and running in with more protective gear.
There's no question. More deputies arriving, and again, you mentioned it, Alex, it's all about the body language. This is a frantic scene. This is a very fluid scene in which a suspect
look at all these deputies here now.
Where guns were drawn. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department is the primary law enforcement jurisdiction. As a group, look at this. They're moving in, and they're going to bring this to an end the best they can without anybody else getting. But guns are drawn.
And their shields.
And again, we have reports that shots have already been fired. Fortunately, from our vantage point, we're not seeing anybody down, but I would not be surprised if LA County Fire rolls up just in case because of what we've already seen.
Yeah.
But that was a roundabout there pulling into this this living facility, whether it be an apartment complex, a two-story apartment complex here in the south end of Palmdale off of the 14 freeway, having exited this pursuit did at Avenue S. And now the reinforcements arrive. I would not be surprised if SWAT units came in as well.
A desperate effort by that driver of that was looked to be a Prius to try to get away from law enforcement, driving in the center lane there, getting on the freeway, then getting off the freeway. And you have to wonder, did the driver know this apartment complex? Was a driver trying to end up here at this location? The way they entered this kind of roundabout here makes me think that the driver might have been familiar with this location, and that driver ran to one location, and we don't know if they were able to get inside on their own or not.
And we don't know where this pursuit started. We don't have firm details on why it started. If it did even start in this area and then went north, and then we've seen so many times with pursuits, they get off the freeway and then head back in the direction where they came from. That could have happened.
So, Rick, we now have some official confirmation of what we were sort of speculating a short time ago, that the original want here was a kidnapping suspect and assault with a deadly weapon. So that woman, we believe, that was in the Prius and that was talking with deputies a short time ago, was, we believe, the victim of a kidnapping, which is why she got out of the vehicle, hands up, don't interact with me. And then the suspect kept running with that bag, which may have included a shotgun. and that's why there was this exchange. We don't know if the suspect is in an apartment complex with his family members or his own apartment complex. That's why he chose that particular spot. And we don't know if there's another innocent victim or maybe even a family member who's an innocent victim in that apartment complex who may be, you know, scared for their life right now.
Yeah, it's a tense situation.
And they brought in the heavies. You saw that. I mentioned perhaps we'd see some SWAT units, and there's at least one there, special weapons and tactics, and they will be on scene there trying to bring this to an end without anybody else getting hurt. If we do know that there have been a couple of traffic collisions as a result of this pursuit. Unclear if any officers were hurt in those collisions, but there was a hard hit on one of those sheriff's deputy units, a T-bone hit, as this pursuit was making its way nearby this location.
Well, because we do know this was a kidnapping victim, perhaps the passenger in that vehicle is giving some information to law enforcement as to who they're dealing with and why they're at this location, if she does know. She might be able to give them a lot of background information, a lot of details as to personality and contacts, perhaps a phone number, a relative phone number, and they might have hostage negotiators working on this right now, or you know, negotiators trying to get this suspect to peacefully give up, to bring this to an end if they have a cell phone number.
Yeah, and one of the questions that I have is, we saw two people on that balcony. You know, is that other person there willingly? Or is that potentially somebody else who's now a kidnapping victim?
And you mentioned, Alex, I couldn't tell from my monitor, but you mentioned that perhaps you thought that one of those individuals was holding the gun, correct?
Yeah.
And they were pointing down at those deputies, and the deputies were taking cover. More deputies arriving. Again, we're talking about SWAT being there, at least one unit.
Yeah.
The Special Enforcement Bureau as well.
I thought I saw some shots fired by deputies earlier. It's tough to tell from this vantage point, but it looked like in the initial moments there that there was some exchange of gunfire.
So this
is
is
I saw.
This is a tenuous situation in that now you are in a multi-unit living facility of some sort, that there are innocent people likely in some of those units. They have to protect them. They have to protect the officers, the deputies that are on scene there, and go through that complex in such a way to keep everybody safe and bringing this hopefully to a peaceful end. But by the way that the suspect has been acting,
here's what I'm wondering. Are they in a position now to safely go through that building? I don't know if they can make those kind of moves right now, being that you have somebody there with a weapon. We do know shots have been fired. So it looks to me like they're just keeping an eye there on that unit right there. But Alex, the people on the balcony are gone, and those deputies that are exposed there don't seem to be worried about being exposed in the yard there. So I'm not sure who those people were. There's a person there right now on the balcony again.
There. Yep.
This looks to be like a two-story unit. Perhaps the person is on the ground level. We don't know what's happening in there. It looks like it could be some kind of stairwell. But there you have the two people again on the balcony. It looks to me like those deputies don't feel threatened by those people.
They look so casual, almost like they're just interested in what's happening. But you could see the deputies. But the deputies now standing off a bit are a little bit more less guarded in that their hands are down. They don't all have their guns drawn. But I'll tell you this, Christine, in terms of what deputies can or can't do or what they will and won't do. Firefighters are going to run into a burning building when everybody's running out. And these deputies are trained, and that is what they do to protect and to serve. And they will run in there if they have to and bring this suspect into custody and bring it to an end the best way they can with keeping everybody else safe.
All right, we want to take a look at what happened earlier here with those shots fired. We have confirmation of that. We're going to go ahead and run this as a loop so you can see it there. You can see the deputies there. Look at the moves there of those deputies, and you can see their shots fired. You have to wonder what's happened inside that unit. Was somebody actually hit?
Yep,
Was a suspect hit? There's a massive amount of law enforcement there right now, not actually moving in there, but you saw those deputies there.
Yeah.
And what a frightening day for those deputies.
And they had to have felt a threat. They're not gonna just pull their guns out and start shooting at someone or something unless they saw something or something was coming at them to do that. So clearly something occurred right there where they felt threatened and their guns were out, and it appeared that there was a discharge of at least one of the weapons.
So we are now back live. That shot fired again was on a loop, so we were just watching it over and over again. It was only that momentary instance, at least, that we could see. We don't know if there was any other exchange of gunfire, perhaps in the apartment complex itself, where we could not see. But now there's a sort of a waiting game underway as a whole lot of law enforcement shows up to this location here to try to help.
So you have an isolated location here now where it seems like people in that complex would perhaps not be in danger if they have their own entrances and exits, or is there some kind of center hallway there in that complex that people could be exposed if this suspect comes out into the perhaps interior of the building?
On the right. I just saw a lot of movement of deputies on the far right side of the monitor.
right-hand side.
So again, they've set up a containment. They've placed deputies all around this building. Now it's just trying to get this suspect out of there and get everybody out of harm's way. If there are some people inside those units, again, we don't even have confirmation what this facility is, but it does look like a multi-unit living facility of some sort.
And you know, Rick, too, looking at the access here, too, let's say you live in this building. It looks like the access is at certain points to the different units, because we're looking at patios that look like to be backyard patios. And there you see that law enforcement, those resources coming in. We think of that kind of vehicle often used to perhaps deal with a situation where a suspect is barricaded in their car. Yeah. Not sure how they'd use this vehicle with this kind of situation, a person barricaded inside an apartment or at an apartment here. But again, I want to get back to the access of this apartment building. You see those look like balconies to the backyards, let's say the back part of the apartment complexes, and that one location you have to wonder how far this suspect could get and how many other units are in danger.
And the suspect ran up to the second story and didn't go in through an entrance in the first story. I mean, I don't know. We don't know, Rick. My guess, reading it, having done this a lot, is that this suspect has some sort of connection to that apartment and seemed to know where he was going and getting there really fast.
Exactly, and he was able to. He was able to hop out of the vehicle and get up that flight of stairs very quickly. And now we're in this standoff situation. The Bearcat is there, the SWAT units are there, and a number of LA County Sheriff's deputies, the agency that handles the law enforcement of this portion of Los Angeles County in Palmdale.
So we continue to watch as more deputies show up at this location, unaware of the physical health of this suspect at this time. We know that shots were fired. We do not know if anybody was hit. We do not know if any deputies were hit as well. We have not seen firefighters show up or any sort of rescue crew show up on that front, so that hopefully is a good sign that nobody was injured in all of that. We also don't know about the health of the deputy who was hit earlier as part of this pursuit that led to this situation.
By an innocent driver. We don't know that person's condition either. We do know the location here of this apartment complex, Sierra View Gardens.
All right, it is now 6 o'clock and we are watching breaking news. Welcome to the Fox 11 News at 6 o'clock. I'm Alex Michelson.
And I'm Christine Devine. We are watching we don't know if it's a standoff, but we can tell you it is the end of a very dangerous, wild pursuit. You can see there in the corner of your screen there, this apartment complex where deputies are there, and we don't know what's happened with the suspect after shots were fired.
So let's bring you up to date if you're just joining us at the top of the hour about what led to this situation. We've got some video we can show you of the pursuit itself, including a situation where a CHP officer was hurt. Hopefully we can get that ready to go. A CHP officer was hurt. Here we go. This is the pursuit. You see a wild turn here right into traffic, and then right there that CHP officer was hit. We do not know about that officer's condition. The pursuit continued on after that situation in through a neighborhood to what appeared to be a dead end. We can show you some video of that when it moves into a dead end. We think this might be the end of the pursuit. Here is the pit maneuver with a deputy. The person gets away somehow, and there clearly was damage to the mailbox in that situation. And then, Christine, this person pulls into an apartment complex.
But what you want to notice here, the suspect running, carrying something, and also to the top there, A passenger got out. We do know now this is a kidnapping situation. That suspect, though, running inside that complex there. Deputies there following right along there, right in there. And then at some point we see shots fired by the deputies. So this location now is Sierra View Gardens.
Here's those shot
it's in
fires,
Palmdale.
It's the 37,000 block of 20th Street East there, and I just looked that this is a multi-story unit, two-story unit, as you could see, and all of those units are occupied at this time. There's no open units. I just went on their website, so that means that if indeed that's the case, there could be many people inside all of those units, upstairs and downstairs.
We do have some good information after witnessing that crash there with the CHP unit and the innocent driver. We're hearing nobody hurt in that. Thank goodness, not the officer and not the innocent driver caught up in that pursuit there, who kind of hit that deputy or that CHP officer kind of head on at the tail end of that CHP car. But nobody hurt. And that's some good news. Yeah.
And so now we see these two people towards the top of your screen on the balcony, having some interaction with this sizable law enforcement presence here. And you wonder, Rick, you know, how's this going to end? Because in this situation, they can wait this person out.
And they do. Those deputies now below that are outside of that awning area there and that porch area where the stairwell rolls up to the second floor do have their guns drawn. And those two individuals just keep coming out on the balcony and having some